right. So after the Lakers, you went on to play again for the Clippers.
Uh-huh.
So talk to me about that for a little bit, because most people know about Donald Sterling and that whole saga. But for people that don't know about that scandal, I'm going to let you fill them in a little bit on that, because they just know about V. Stiviano, I think.
Right.
What was it like, first of all, working for Donald Sterling?
It was interesting. I mean, obviously, Donald had a history of discriminating against minorities. He's a big real estate guy out here in LA, and just kind of had a history of discrimination. But
was he like that with you personally?
No, not at all. Like I said, I never had any issues. Always respectful. I was always respectful to him. When I saw him, I spoke. I was actually more kind of friendly with his wife, Shelly. Shelly was very nice and kind, and always, sought me out to come talk to me and ask me how things were going.
Mm-hmm.
So when I signed there, I'm not necessarily thinking about Donald Sterling, and I don't think Chris Paul or Blake Griffin or DeAndre or anyone else on our team was necessarily thinking about Donald Sterling. I think what we're thinking about is the Clippers have been the doormat of the NBA pretty much for their entire existence. We have a really good team, and we feel like we can change the narrative on this team. We felt like we had a championship type of team, and we definitely did. And we took a lot of pride in trying to, again, remove the stigma from the team. The Clippers were the doormat of the NBA. And for the first time in their franchise history, we won the Pacific Division title, 50 plus wins. One of the best teams in the league for about a 2 or 3 year run. And that kind of came boiling to a head. Was it 2015, I think, where Donald Sterling was caught or was recorded by his side chick.
Time out. Did you used to see V. Stiviano at the games?
No one can stand this. I don't even like talking bad about people, but just no one liked her. She thought that she owned the Staples Center. She thought that she was a part of the organization. She used to walk around and strut like her shit didn't stink, and just no one liked her at all. And
did they know?
Everyone knew. Everyone knew.
And they knew she was the mistress.
Everyone. He used to sit her courtside at games while he was sitting with his wife. He would just sit her somewhere else. So it wasn't a secret. It was, and I'm no one to judge, because at the time I wasn't perfect, and I haven't been perfect in my relationships, but it was just blatant, wild, outlandish disrespect. And I think she fed on that power too. Like, she liked people talking about her, and she liked kind of being the center of attention. So I say all that to say that kind of came to a boiling head the first round of the playoffs that year, where she recorded him saying some, unfriendly and racial things about minorities, particularly Magic Johnson. And that she released the tape to TMZ. And we're in the midst of a tough battle against a young Golden State Warriors team. So to put it kind of in context, we end up beating this Warriors team, but that next year is when they went on their dynasty run, and they won 4 championships in the next 8 years. So this is we knew at the time, like, hey, this team is next. This is the young Steph Curry, young Klay Thompson, young Draymond Green. They're a young, hungry team. So this tape is, launched in the middle of a playoff series, and we're like, fuck, like, what are we supposed to do? And so now everyone's telling us, and this is kind of the beginning of social media, kind of not just showing off your money or what you're doing. People are kind of starting to speak out against things, particularly athletes. So now we have the whole world, telling us what to do. Or you guys shouldn't play, and your owner is racist, and he's treating you guys like slaves, and this and that. So now everyone has an opinion on what we should be doing. And although we agree, we felt that, obviously what he did was wrong. And again, with my past, I knew he was wrong, but it didn't really bother me. I'm just like, him saying nigger or him saying this or him saying that, like, that doesn't bother. Like, I almost lost my life. You know what I mean? So this is, the way people talk or people think. Like, I was just thinking to myself, like, he's not the only owner that thinks this way. He's just the only one dumb enough to get recorded doing it. So again, it just kind of puts a strain on our team. Some people want to sit out. Some people want to play. If we do sit out, does it count as a loss? How long do we sit out? Is he going to be fired? So there's just so much unknown that we just decided to try to play through it. Fortunately enough, we were able to play through it. We were able to beat the Warriors. But then I I just think his dark cloud was looming over our team constantly. So it became less about basketball as we continue to win and just more about what was going to happen to Donald Sterling. Like, how does he still have this team? And everyone's outraged. But at the same time, although he was the one that messed up, people are starting to get mad at us because we keep playing. But we're trying to tell people, like, yo, we're not playing for this man. Like, we're playing for the people in our locker rooms, our family, our friends, our fans who believe in us, because we feel like we have a team that can win a championship. So just a lot of other stuff kind of caught up with us. We ended up losing the next round. And I think the NBA was kind of happy about that because, again, the narrative the whole time while we were playing was just a negative narrative of Donald Sterling. And obviously, Mr. Silver, the commissioner of the NBA, fresh on his job, ended up banning him from the NBA. His wife, Shelly, pulls some strings and ends up getting the team sold to Steve Ballmer. And kind of the rest is history.
Yeah. So how do you think things have changed in the NBA in the last decade?
From that standpoint, I just think people are using their voice more. The whole Black Lives Matter movement, the whole, young Black kid, Trayvon Martin movement with the hoodies. And I just think from that point on, and I think the Sterling situation was kind of the beginning of the floodgates of athletes really stepping into their own and using not only their voice, but their platform as a call for change, a call for attention. And since then, there's been no going back. Again, I think the NBA is kind of at the forefront of social movement, and they do the best they can. I don't always think they do the right things in some, but I think their heart is in the right place, trying to figure out how to, as such a multi-billion-dollar, conglomerate, how do we do what's right, considering that the majority of our players are African American. So I always take my hat off to the NBA because they do try. They are progressive. They're at the front of the line of change, and I have a lot of respect for them for that.
Speaking of that, you've gotten you really use your voice now. You've gotten involved in a lot of political stuff. You talk a lot about Black Lives Matter. I mean, talk to me about the things that mean a lot to you right now.
The Black Lives Matter movement, I wasn't necessarily with that movement from a standpoint of, yes, I think Black Lives Matter, but I think the business behind the Black Lives Matter mantra got a little messy and funds were misappropriated. And I hated that it kind of gave a black eye to the movement, no pun intended, because again, I think, Black lives do matter. Black people's lives do matter. But I think, when the money started pouring in and these people really didn't have no idea what to do with it, they started doing some stuff they shouldn't have did with it. So I'm to the mantra of, the movement was great. I think the people we were standing up for were great. But I just think, money got to those people's heads, and I definitely didn't agree to that side. But from a different standpoint, from just I try to use my platform to speak up for those who don't have a platform or those who don't have a voice. I think I've been misunderstood my entire life about who I am or what I'm about, and I'm someone who made it out of circumstances that a lot of other people didn't. And I realize that I'm very fortunate for that. So now that I do have the opportunity and the means, I try to help. I try to give back. I try to motivate. I try to educate. And not to say that I'm perfect, because I'm still making mistakes along the way, but I'm continuing to learn and try to better myself every day. I got interested in politics. Kevin Johnson, who was a former NBA player, was a mayor of my hometown of Sacramento. And to me at the time, it wasn't so much about the political side of what he was doing, but I just really saw him making a difference in the neighborhoods, cleaning the neighborhoods up, providing opportunity for the youth in those neighborhoods. And it really kind of motivated me to think, like, damn, if he can do it, why can't I do it? So started shadowing him, still in contact with the current mayor, Mr. Steinberg out of Sacramento. And again, I just turned 43 yesterday, and I gave myself a goal back in my 30s that by the time I turned 50, I wanted to run for some sort of office, whether that be mayor or governor or whatever it may be, just because I think it would be different. It would be refreshing. It's not something that people expect. But I know that I can make a difference. So I say all that to say I still have a handful of years. I still got 7 years before that time is up. But I do more than anything, whether I end up taking on that challenge that I gave myself 10 years ago or not. I just want to continue to show people hope, give people opportunities, and inspire the youth, because I feel like in our communities you have to see it to believe it. Most of the time these kids look up to who they see, and they see guys on the block doing all the things they shouldn't be doing. So I always want to be a symbol of hope, of someone who made it out of tough circumstances, and to motivate other kids, to let them, male and female, to let them know they can too.
Mm-hmm. So speaking of kids, you have a number of children yourself. You're an amazing father.